LG announced the LG G8 thinq earlier today, but it just also announced the LG V50 thinq. So now there's two flagship smartphones, both have the Snapdragon 855 processor, but what the LG V50 does differently is that it can support 5G networks. So that's the big sell here. This is the LG V50 thinq 5G. So the point is that later on this year, as some 5G networks start to come online, this phone will get you faster speeds, or so we'll see. But that's not the only cool thing about the V50. We're also going to take a look at this strange little attachment that you can attach the phone to. So we're hearing a lot of buzz about foldable phones, and so it's essentially what this V50 can now do is get a second screen option. So basically this second screen here will turn on, and now you sort of have a foldable smartphone. So it's a different take on the whole idea, so let's take a quick look. So this is the LG V50 thinq. There's a bit of stickers on the back and it's very fingerprinty. There's a lot going on here, but basically you can see the slight design change from last year's V40 thinq. The cameras are still the same, it's a triple camera setup, but basically they removed that little module surrounding the camera on the back. So now it looks flat, a little under the glass, a little tough to see because of all those fingerprints, but more or less a very similar design as last year's LG V40 thinq. Over on the front, it's also a pretty similar story. There's a notch with that same second camera as we saw on the V40. One is a wider lens and one is that standard lens. So the camera experience is pretty similar to last year's LG V40 thinq. You're getting triple cameras, and again, you can see that sort of here. Now compared to the LG G8, you are getting one more camera, but basically it's 12 megapixel telephoto lens, which is this one, gives you that extra zoom over there, along with a wide angle 16 megapixel lens, which is this one, obviously get way more in the shot. And then there is the standard 12 megapixel standard lens, which you'd want to use for everything. There is also one new feature here in the More column. It's called Night View. So basically, this is a feature that is also in the LG G8, but basically you can take a photo and it's essentially stacking together 10 images to give you one well-exposed photo that hopefully is great at capturing nighttime, low-light environments. One other feature that's also available on the LG G8 and the V50 is portrait live video. So basically you're going to the portrait mode of the camera, and now you can see there's a blur effect added to behind the person. So essentially you can see how there's no blur effect now, but when you go to portrait, blur effect is added, and there's a slider here that lets you control the intensity of that blur for a cool DSLR-like effect. So you can get rid of it completely, like that, or you can increase it to the max, and you get kind of neat video. And here's it sort of happening in real time. Click on the subject, and you can see it's in focus, and adding that blur right behind everything, whereas getting rid of it completely. So it's a neat little video feature that's new in both the V50 and the G8. Just to run off some new specs of this new phone, it's being powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 processor. Again, this one does have the X50 modem, so you're getting 5G connectivity, 6 gigs of RAM, 120 gigs of storage. There is a micro SD card slot, and over on the front, it's a 6.4-inch screen, pretty similar to last year's. There's a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which is the new feature, and it is running Android 9 Pie. So again, very similar to the V40. The only major difference that comes to mind is that it's a little thicker, and that's because it has a bigger 4,000 milliamp hour battery powering the whole thing. Now that battery size is bigger, not just because it can connect to 5G networks, as we said, the first of which will be Verizon and Sprint when the phone launches starting this spring. But basically, this also, the other crazy feature is that it has this secondary smartphone attachment. So this is sort of our first look at it as well. So some of the downsides that we see already is that apparently this doesn't act as a screen, so you can't see much here, as we've been told. But when you open it up, that's when you have the screen right there. And of course, if you just want to use that main screen, you can just fold it like this, so you get that full view there. But when you want to use that second screen, you see this little pop-up button here, tap that, and there you go. voila, so you have two screens now, and this basically is just a secondary screen. That's a separate module. It doesn't require a battery because it's being powered by the V50, and it's also being powered through wireless charging. So if we take this off, basically you can see a little wireless charging module in the back here, which is how it juices up. So that's the second screen. Obviously now you can already start to think of things you can do with it. Say I'm traveling somewhere and I want to send someone a message or share directions or something like that, I can easily do that. Another neat little idea would be, say, opening something like YouTube and watching, well, I think you have to update YouTube, but you get the idea of, playing a video, you want to text someone what you're watching, or maybe you're watching Netflix and sharing notes at the same time on your favorite show. The opportunity is sort of endless, and there are a few other options over here that pop up. So you can turn off the dual screen, you can show the dual screen on the main. Basically, you can swap screens, show main on the dual screen, show dual on the main, so you can flip the content whenever you want. Right, so basically, let's say I opened a Chrome. Now it enables, I can swap the screen. There you go, that's a pretty handy way of quickly navigating this dual screen setup. And of course, if I wanted to swap things around, I can always just show dual on main, and it does that. So pretty handy, pretty polished experience as well so far. Obviously, loads more that we can really do with this dual screen setup. We'll just have to be tinkering around with it a little more to truly find out the full capabilities. One thing that was also mentioned was that when you're playing games, some games will be able to support touchscreen controls so that you can play the game here and use this side as a gamepad. So that's just a few of the ideas that we have that they suggested so far with the LG V50. The other downside is that this second screen attachment is not coming to the US. So that's a bit of a bummer. You're only going to be able to get the V50 thinq in the US. Price hasn't been announced just yet, but will be added shortly. Again, it's going to start on Sprint first in the spring, and then it'll come to Verizon along with many other carriers at some point. So that's a quick look at the LG V50 thinq, and thanks for watching.